Welcome back to the GenTwenty Podcast. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Marina. Today we're talking about comparison. So comparison is a tricky thing. We all do it, and it always hurts us, right? So we know the quote, comparison is the thief of joy, but we don't always remember to check ourselves when we fall into the habit. So we want to talk about why we compare, how can we catch ourselves, and what can we do instead of comparing ourselves to others. And I think the first place we do this the most is online, right? So in social media, we have these highlight reels of our lives and successes and forward motions. And that's a scam, right? It's not real life.
Absolutely a scam. Yeah. Yeah, it's really easy when you – because think about what you share on Instagram and online. It's generally the very curated, highlighted things. And I think there's starting to be more of this movement where people are sharing the harder side of things, which I think is really interesting. But even that, in some ways, I think can still lead to comparison because you're well, at least my day is going better.
Interesting.
I don't know. In some ways that I don't know, especially with parenting is where I'm really thinking of it. It's whenever I see a kid throwing a tantrum or something, I'm just well, now I'm just not even fazed by it anymore. But also it's that might be your kid right this second, but in the next second it's going to be my kid. So
we're all doing the best we can do.
Yeah, we're just going to keep moving. And now a word from our sponsor. Do you ever feel like you're stuck on the island of misfit careers? Everyone around you seems to have their career together, but here you are in a soul-sucking job for what feels like the 100th time. Why is it so hard to find work that makes you happy? My friend, you are not alone in feeling this way. Let me introduce you to Serena and Get Me Out of This Job. Get Me Out of This Job is a career coaching program that helps you find confidence and clarity in the next steps of your career. Serena helps you build a career around your life instead of feeling like you have to build your life around your career. No more diving into jobs that aren't the right fit for you anymore. No more living on the Isle of Misfit Careers. And the best part? Mention GenTwenty and get 10% off your coaching package. Head to getmeoutofthisjob.co to learn more or follow her on Instagram at getmeoutofthisjob. I think when people share their successes, it can make you feel really bad about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I still catch myself because I live so much of my life online, right? We run our businesses online. We're always on social media trying to compare in a learning mission of okay, what are they doing? Can I try that? And will that work? Which is okay. But when it's oh, well, they did it and it didn't work for me. What's wrong with me? That's not okay. And so I have to catch myself and remind myself that someone else's success is not my failure. So we can all be doing what we want to be doing, how we want to do it. And just, in another episode, we talked a lot about failing faster and embracing the idea of failure. And I think when we start to do that, the comparison game will diminish.
Yeah, it's you have to stop looking at other people as if they are some barometer of success or a measure of where you should be.
Yeah, I remember when TikTok, we love TikTok, I love TikTok. TikTok came out and I was thinking there was one person who got really, really quote unquote successful really fast and has a very big money business. And I remember feeling really bad about myself. And then my mom told me, you don't run a TikTok business. So why are you upset that you're not doing that? I was like, oh, yeah. Yeah, and I don't want to run a TikTok business. Okay. Okay.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom, for the perspective.
Keeping me humble.
But yeah, it's why are you going to compare yourself to someone who's doing something so different from you and feel bad about yourself for not doing what they're doing when you don't want to do that?
Yeah, exactly. There's room for all of us to succeed in our own paths and down our own lanes. We're not, we might be on the same road, but we're not going to the same destination.
Yeah. And we talked about, so I'm not quite sure when this episode will launch, but we spoke with Tess Brigham, a therapist who works with millennials, and we were kind of talking about the comparison game there. And she mentioned, when she was in her 20s, social media wasn't a thing. And so there was a different level of comparison, but in a smaller pool. So if you think about who you're comparing yourself to right now, if you're spending a lot of your life online, it's a global pool of people. That's overwhelming. And it's just the circumstances are so vast and different that you'll never, quote unquote, catch up to that. And so I think we tend to start comparing as like a kind of like fact finding, for lack of a better term, and then use the data wrong. And it doesn't serve you. I think we can only compare our present to our past. Like, how am I feeling? Have I grown? Is what I'm doing serving me? Where have I come from? I think that's the only type of comparing we should do. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I think it's really interesting, as you were talking about Tessa's episode, because I can't imagine not having social media in my 20s. But it's like, I also can't imagine having social media in like elementary school.
Oh, yeah. And even the way we had social media in our early 20s versus now. I got my Instagram when I was a junior in college, so I was exactly 20. And Instagram, it was for posting crappy pictures of yourself and your food.
Yeah.
For like 5 years. And then it wasn't until, I guess, 5 years ago, since I've had Instagram for 10 years, oh God, that it wasn't until a couple of years ago that it started making a shift to the influencers and you know, you worry about your feed and stories and all these things. And so you don't get that space to just breathe if you're comparing yourself all the time.
Yeah.
And I think social media takes that from us. And now a word from our sponsor. Tala Istanbuli is an integrated health coach for parents and families who are struggling to find time or energy to focus on their well-being. She offers personalized coaching programs as well as movement and mindfulness classes to help you achieve your health goals. She believes that taking care of your family starts with taking care of yourself. You can find out more at talahealthcoach.com or on Instagram at Tala Health Coach. That's TALA Health Coach.
Like with social media and stuff, it's just interesting how attached we are to it and how attached that makes us to comparing ourselves even subconsciously. Because like you were saying before, like there was this like there's so many more people, like you can follow literally anyone and you're seeing just a very highlighted, curated version of their lives. And yeah, of course, like I don't want to see people screaming kids on social media. Like I have one of my own. I don't need it. But like it's also just like when people are sharing like a little snapshot of their kid. I'm sorry, I'm very knee deep in parenting at the moment, so it's a lot of my examples. I don't have time for much else at this current point in my life, so we're just gonna keep breezing over that. But yeah, like when people share like a moment of their kid doing something like really wonderful, like I don't even know. What do kids do that's wonderful? I can't imagine.
They learn to walk. They say funny things.
Yeah. Well, like milestones, I guess. Like you see it a lot with like kids like, oh, my 4-month-old is rolling over. And like meanwhile, your 4-month-old might be laying there like a dead fish and you're just like, okay, when is that going to happen for me? Like, I don't know. It's just really easy to compare, I think. And like it can feel really personal when it's really not.
Yeah. And this dead fish example of yours has reminded me about like growth patterns and growth charts. And if you're looking at your kid thinking, oh, he should be rolling over now, what's wrong with him? And there's nothing wrong with him. He's just not there yet. That's hurting him. And so if you're looking at yourself and saying like, oh, I'm not making 6 figures yet, what's wrong with me? That's hurting you. You're on your own plane. You're on your own path. So your timeline is going to be different. It's like there's alternate timelines and you're allowed to go the pace you're going. And if you compare to so much, you forget that. Yeah. And I was thinking the example I was going to say is when Nicole messaged me on Instagram the other day a video of a woman sharing her morning routine. And it's like all these things she does before checking her phone. And she's like, she makes her bed and she works out and she has coffee and breakfast and like, I don't know, writes a novel and sonnets. And Nicole commented, this could be us. And I said, yeah, but it's not. Because
Yeah, you said you'd have to throw your phone away.
I'd literally have to throw my phone away.
And I thought that was really funny.
And but it's true. But and for a brief moment, I thought, oh man, I should probably do that. And that word should it just means shame. Like you're just shaming yourself for
Mm.
something that you don't need to shame yourself for. And so, yeah, could I have a better relationship to my phone? Sure. Could I have a healthier habit in the morning with my phone? Yeah. Can I work on that? Yeah. Am I going to feel bad that I don't do it? No.
Amen. Yeah.
Because the 15 minutes I spend scrolling on TikTok in the morning while I drink my coffee and watching doofy dog videos are really precious moments. It makes me happy and it's not hurting me, so it's
You
okay.
remember them forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that when, like, especially with all these new forms of media and stuff, like, they are really entertaining. And I think I saw it was from Taking Care of Babies and like my Explore feed the other day, where
Mm-hmm.
she was like, when you just want to teach parents about baby sleep, but Instagram makes you want to do these stupid ass dances.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, that's like exactly the problem. Like, we're trying to connect with people in this way that's been given to us, like social media, but it's really just causing all these like problems and distractions because like comparison is really just a distraction.
Yeah, it's a measure, it's like a fake measure of progress, right? So
Yeah.
I'm working on a novel. This is like season 3 of me working on a novel. It's the same novel. And I see other people, I follow a lot of writers on social media between Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. I'm now back on Twitter. Oh. And people are talking, they're, pitching themselves, they're getting published, they're all these things. And I catch myself feeling really sad that I am not there yet. And I have to remind myself, yeah, because you have to do the writing, you have to do the work. You're not there yet because you're not there yet. That's okay. You will get there. And it's so easy to see what someone else is doing and feel bad about yourself when really you should be. I think this is maybe a quote from an Amy Poehler book, or it's like one that I've adapted after reading that book, but good for you, not for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah, I love that quote, and I love telling people, I love that for you.
yeah, I'd love that for
I love
you.
that for
We
you.
love to see this. Like,
Yeah,
there's a reason that our personalities are different and our paths to progress are different. And the sooner we embrace that, the sooner we get to where we want to be.
exactly. And there was something that you were saying that was making me think of something, which is so fascinating, I know. Oh, I was gonna say that there are so many successful people that we've never heard of because they don't want us to know about them.
Ooh.
Which I thought, as you were talking about like being on Twitter and all these like platforms, and it's like there are people who define their success as like how many people know about them, like how many people click their links, how many people read their content, blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
And
these quote unquote metrics that don't mean anything.
yeah, and like in my husband's job, he's like, well, this one thing I work on has made this company $1 billion, and I'm like, wow, okay,
And no one would know because
yeah,
he's just staying in his lane and doing his work. Yeah,
yeah,
that makes me think of I learned this phrase somewhere in the last 6 months, but I'm obsessed with it. That other people's opinions of you are none of your business.
mm-hmm.
So it's very transferable to a lot of situations. But when it comes to like the people who are successful and you don't know about them, it's because they don't care if you know, right?
Yeah,
They're measuring their success on their own timeline. And I love that because I would love to care less about what people thought of me. And I'm working on it, which is why I say to myself, oh, what she thinks of me, none of my business. I'm not going to worry about it.
yeah,
Um,
especially because even if we think about the way that we think about comparison, it's always in terms of ourselves.
mhm.
Like we don't compare other people to us, generally speaking. It's usually you're comparing yourself to someone else. And it's like we are all very self-centric, which is fine, but like people are not thinking about you as much as you think that they are.
Yeah.
And if they are, it's like a passing thought. Like, I don't know. I don't really talk about other people that often for good or for bad. I mean, not that I sit and talk about myself all
Yeah.
the time either, but like, you know, I'm not like, wow, she shouldn't be doing this, or wow, that's not really going well for her, is it? Like, I would just be like, wow, why isn't my business making $1 million? Like,
Yeah.
I don't care about the people who like aren't making that yet. It's like you're comparing yourself to the person who has what you achieve to have, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Or what you perceive you want, because
Yeah.
we see people doing things and it's like, oh, I could do that. It's like, okay, yeah, you probably could. Do you want to?
Yeah, that's a really solid question
Yeah.
to ask.
So basically, the moral of this episode is you don't need to compare yourself to anyone. You're doing great, and you're allowed to do whatever you're doing on your own timeline and path. Like, it's your journey. And so do it for yourself.
Yeah, live your journey, live your life, live, laugh, love.
Live, laugh, love. Okay. All right. 2002.
Okay, yeah. So just try over the next like 24 hours after you're listening to this episode to catch yourself whenever you feel yourself comparing yourself to someone or like what you've accomplished to anything else, you know? And I think that you'll find that you do it a lot more often than you think that you do.
Yeah. I took a break from Instagram for a week because I was really burnt out. And it was honestly such a great week because I wasn't thinking about anybody else, which sounds selfish, but really it just means that I wasn't comparing myself to anyone else for a whole week. And I got a ton of writing done. I felt really good about myself. It was a great thing. I'm working on taking more breaks.
Yeah, and all good things happened. No bad things happened. Except that I had to send Marina screenshots of all my Instagram posts that week so she wouldn't miss my life.
That's true. And we may or may not have missed something on our calendar, but that's a different story for another day.
Yeah, we're never going to tell that story, probably.
Yeah, let's not.
We might next year.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe season 4 when we revisit failure.
Yeah. But anyway, this has been another episode of the GenTwenty Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. We would love if you leave a rating and a review or send us an email or leave us a comment on Instagram, DMs. We'd love to hear from you. And we'll see you again soon. Bye.
Bye.